Hey, hello, we are from Group 4, and today we're going to present you Chapter 9, Fundamentals of Control. Next slide, please. Control is important for the success of any organization. When managers set goals and make plans, it is linked with controlling, which is the process of measuring performance and making sure that plans turn out as intended. Now, the figure on the right shows how controlling fits in with the other management functions. We can see that planning is to set the direction. Setting the direction means to decide where you want to go and how you can do it more effectively. Organizing is to create structures like bringing people and material resources together in working combination. Leading is to inspire people to give the best effort to utilize their resources, while controlling, as mentioned, is to ensure results or making sure that the right things happen in the right way and at the right time. Next slide, please. As we talk about the importance of controlling, one of the great benefits that we get is organizational learning. The program, for example, is After Action Review, which first introduced by the US Army. After Action Review is a process for a structured review of lessons learned and results accomplished in a completed project or task. After Action Review helps us to make a continuous improvement by evaluating us to think about how we acted, what we achieved, and how can we be more effective in the future. It also helps us to be more responsible for our own tasks. Next slide, please.
Okay, now I will explain about three types of control, namely feed-forward control, concurrent control, and feedback control. Next slide, please. As for the first type, it is feed-forward control. It takes place before a work activity begins. The goal is to solve problems before they occur by asking an important but often neglected question: what needs to be done before we begin? Let's take McDonald's as an example. The preliminary control of food ingredients plays an important role in the firm's quality program. McDonald's required that suppliers of its hamburger buns produce them to exact specification, covering everything from texture to the uniformity of color. Moving on to the second slide, please. It is the concurrent controls. It focuses on what happened during the work process and also make sure objective focused actions are executed according to plan. The goal of concurrent control is to solve problems as they emerge. The key question is, what can we do to improve things right now? In today's highly dynamic virtual world, the supervision is as likely to be computer driven as face to face. We can take Hyundai as the example. With dozens of computer screens relaying video and data, the Global Command and Control Center keeps watch on Hyundai operations around the world. Next slide, please. And the last type is feedback control. It takes place after work is completed. They focus on the quality of end results rather than on inputs and activities. The goal are to solve problems after they occur and to prevent future problems from occurring. The key question is, now that we are finished, how well did we do? The picture shows feedback form from one of the restaurant. From the customer's answers, it can show how satisfied they are from the ambience, food, and even the service. From that, it can help to improve performance of the restaurant in the future. And for the next slide will be explained by my friend.
Now I'm going to explain about internal and external control. First one, internal control. Internal control is when a manager expects people to control their own behavior. Meanwhile, in external control, the manager structuring situations to increase the likelihood that things will happen as planned. The first one, self-control. Self-control is categorized as internal control. Self-control is a personal capacity, even a life skill. Its own definition is self-control is an internal control that occurs through self-management and self-discipline and fulfilling work and personal responsibilities. And self-control is the only one that categorized in internal control. Meanwhile, in the external control, they will be categorized as three. The first one is bureaucratic control. Bureaucratic control is very different than self-control because in this type of control, the manager controlling uses policies, authorities, procedures, job descriptions, budget, and day-to-day supervisions. And now I'm going to give example of one of the biggest company in the world, Tesla company. Tesla also have a bureaucratic controls in their environment. They have strict rules, for example, like no perfume or fragrances, keep safety issues quiet, never take Take days, do not take weekends off, never ask for a raise, keep working if someone else is injured, do not report accidents to health and safety board. And the last one is they have to always blindly follow Elon Musk, their CEO. The third one is client control, which categorized in the external control. In the client control, it influences behavior through norms and expectations set by the organizational culture. And for this example, will be explained more in the next slide. Now we're going to explain about market control first. In the market control, it influence of customers and competition on the behavior of organizations and their members. By this, the managers can offer like adjust products pricing and also promotion or discounts. Now, we're going to explain more about the client control, which I was explained before. And now we're going to take one of the biggest company in the world, which is Google. We are aware that it's pretty well documented too that Google has a unique culture. Google recruits employees by hiring. This is how the Google hires people. Part of how it attracts, retains, and keep employees happy is by having a great culture with awesome perks. And first, we have to take a look at the perks of being a Google employee. They could have a free breakfast, lunch, and dinner, free health and dental, free haircuts, free dry cleaning, subsidized messages, gyms and swimming pools, hybrid car subsidies, nap pots, video games, football, ping pong, on-site physicians, and death benefits. Obviously, all these perks come at a cost for Google. However, this culture has paid off for Google as they consistently rank among the best places to work. And we could also see that in Google, they have a paid time off for new mothers. Because Google found that women were leaving the company at twice the rate of everyone else. But Laszlo Bock changed the plan so new mothers could get 5 months paid time off, but also with full pay and benefits. The result after the change in this policy is a 50% reduction in attrition for new mothers. And they also have a norm and a habit where a warm greeting for new employees. A warm greeting for a new employee turns out to have a big impact that leads to a 50% increase in productivity over the following 9 months. And Google also preferred diner booths rather than conference rooms because Laszlo and his team have found that diner booths work better than conference rooms for facilitating the creativity between the employees.
Control process. Control process is the output standard measures performance results in terms of quantity, quality, and cost or time. Next slide, please. There are 4 steps in control process. The first step is to establish performance objective and standards. The second step is to measure actual performance. The third step is to compare actual performance with objective and standard. And the fourth step is to take necessary action. Next slide, please. The control process begins with planning. When performance objective and standards for measuring them are set, the objective and standards define what one wants to accomplish in terms of key results. Unfortunately, we often expend too much time and effort on things that just aren't all that important, and we let the big or really consequential things get away from us in the process. The control process uses 2 standards, output and input. The control process uses output standards that measure actual outcomes or work results. The control process also uses input standards that measure work efforts. These are common in situations where outputs are difficult or expensive to measure. Step 2. The second step in the control process is to measure actual performance. It is the point where output standards and input standards are used to carefully document results. Performance measurement in the control process must be accurate enough to identify significant difference between what is really taking place and what was originally planned. Step 3 in the control process is to compare objective with results. You can remember its implication by this control equation that consists of desired performance minus actual performance equal need for action. The final step in the control process is to take actions needed to correct problems or make improvements. Management, by exception, is the practice of giving attention to situations that show the greatest need for action. It saves time, energy, and other resources by helping managers focus their attention on high priority areas. Next slide, please.
Okay, now we're going to the control tools and techniques, which will consist of 5. The first one is project management control, inventory tools, break-even analysis, and financial controls and balance scorecards. First, I'm going to explain about project management and control. Project management and control itself is a responsibility to complete a project. Meanwhile, the project is a complex one-time event with unique components and an objective that must be met within a set of time. In the project management control, there will be 2 types of work. The first one is Gantt chart. As you can see, the Gantt chart is graphically displays the scheduling of tasks required to complete a project. In here, you can see in the Gantt chart, there will be type of task name, planning, research, design, implementation, follow-up. And by this, the manager can like observe their progress by assigning which task is completed and which one is not. The second one is CPM or PERT. CPM or PERT is the combination of the critical path method and the program evaluation and review techniques. In the CPM or PERT, there are critical path, which represents the quickest time in which the entire project can be finished.
As for the inventory control, next slide, please. The goal is to make sure that any inventory is only big enough to meet immediate needs so that carrying costs are minimized. There are two approaches to inventory control. The first one is economic ordered quantity form of inventory control. It is automatically orders a fixed number of items every time an inventory level falls to a predetermined points. The order size are mathematically calculated to minimize inventory costs. The example is your local supermarket. It routinely makes hundreds of daily orders on an economic order quantity basis. And for the another popular control, I mean approach is to inventory control is just in time scheduling. GIT reduce costs and improve workflow by scheduling materials to arrive at a workstation or facility just in time for use. Next slide.
For break-even analysis, next slide, please. Break-even analysis. A frequent control question asked by business executive is what is the break-even point? Break-even occurs at the point where revenues are just equal to costs. You can also think of the break-even point as where losses and profit begins. A break-even point is computed using this formula. Break-even point equal fixed costs divided by price minus variable costs. Next slide, please.
Financial controls. All organization has to use their financial controls well. In order to do so, we have to depend on our financial controls. The foundation for financial controls rests with the firm's balance sheet and income statement. Balance sheet shows assets and liabilities at a certain point. It will be displayed as assets equal to liabilities format, while income statement shows profit or losses at a certain point. It will be displayed as sales minus expenses equal to net income format. Next slide, please. Now, to help managers to control their financial performance, they have a special measures such as profitability, liquidity, leverage, and asset management. Profitability measures ability to earn revenues greater than costs. With profitability, the higher the better because you want higher net income relative to sales, assets, and equity. Liquidity measures like ability to meet short-term obligations. With liquidity, the higher is also the better because you want more assets and fewer liabilities. Leverage measures use of debt, and the higher is also the better. The lower is better because you want fewer debts and more assets. Asset management measures assets and inventory efficiency. The higher is the better because you want more sales relative to assets and inventory. Next slide, please. Balance scorecards. Balance scorecards is a strategy for management controls. It tallies organizational performance in financial, customer service, internal process, and innovation and learning areas. Balance scorecard gives managers a fast but comprehensive view of the business since it keeps track of the organization performance. Next slide, please. Now, developing a balanced scorecard begins with a clarification of the organization vision and mission. To do that, we need to have a specific question, such as financial performance, customer satisfaction, internal process improvement, and innovation and learning. Financial performance question asks about how well do our actions directly contribute to improve financial performance. The sample measures that we use are cash flow, sales growth, and operating income, increased market shares, and return on equity. Customer satisfaction question asks how well do we serve our customers and clients. The samples that we use are percentage sales from new products, percentage on-time deliveries. Internal process improvement question asks how well do our activities and process directly increase the value we provide our customer and clients. The samples that we use are cycle times, engineering efficiency, and new product time. While innovation and learning question asks how well are we learning, changing, and improving things over time. The samples measures that we use are time to develop new technologies, new product introduction time versus competition. That is all from group 4. If you have any question, you can ask us in comments down below. Thank you.